Oh. Join the computer. Chatter Kyle.
Good evening, everyone. We'd like to call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Natrona County Planning and Zoning Commission to order here at 5:35 PM. Sorry we got started a little late. We had some paperwork that showed up just before the meeting that we were trying to get our heads wrapped around before opening up. My name's Hal Hutchinson. I'm the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission. To my left is Commissioner Ray Schulte. To my right is Commissioner Robert Grant. And I understand on Zoom we have Chad McNutt, Commissioner Chad McNutt. Chad, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Thank you, sir.
I'd also like to introduce the Natrona County staff. First on the right is Jared Holbrook, Deputy County Attorney. Next to him is Shelby Trottier, Planning Technician. Up front is Sean Gustafson. He's from ECS Engineers, and he's contracting for planning services. Good to see you here, Sean. First meeting. And behind Sean is Steve Granger. He's also with ECS, and he also is part of the planning services staff for tonight. So everyone should be aware that this commission is an advisory board of the Natrona County Commissioners. Our decisions are subject to approval, conditional approval, denial, or modification by the Board of County Commissioners. For each application on the agenda, we will hold an official public hearing. The hearings are recorded, and there will be written minutes of this meeting. After the commission holds a public hearing, unless an application is tabled or withdrawn, the Board of County Commissioners will hold another public hearing for the application. Tonight, everyone will have an opportunity to address the commission. First, those in favor of an application may address the commission, followed by those opposed to the application may also address the commission. And when the chair recognizes you, please come to the podium right here up front and clearly state your name and address before giving your comments. There is a 5-minute time limit on all comments to the commission. And you should be aware that this is not a forum for public outcry or speaking from the audience. You must be recognized by the chair before addressing the commission. And if a person's conduct is out of order, the chair may give the person a warning. If the person continues the conduct, or if the conduct is extremely out of order, the person may be directed to leave immediately. We have, I think there were 4, but I believe we have 3 items on the agenda tonight. We only have 2 now. Which ones are they?
Mr. Chair, the cases on the agenda for this evening are MS 24-01 and MS 24-05. The other 2 were removed from the agenda for administrative purposes. They, after further review, those ones can actually be handled administratively rather than before the commission.
Okay. So we have 2 items on the agenda tonight. And I think that's all of the stuff for the lead up. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So our first item of business is consideration of the minutes from February 13th, 2024. Everyone had a chance to read the minutes, and anyone ready to make a motion for consideration?
Chair, I move we approve the minutes from the February 13, 2024 meeting.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Discussion? I did mention just before the meeting, there's a misprint on the top that the date of the meeting needs to be stated as February 13th and not December 2023. Cut and paste error happens all the time. Okay, so I would add that as a revision to the minutes. How does that work? Friendly amendment? Friendly?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that would just be an amendment to the original motion approving the minutes with the correction you stated to the date.
Okay. Do we need to say okay or thumbs up or anything on the amendment, or
Yes, Commissioner.
Commissioner Schulte, would that work for you?
That works for me, yes.
All right, sounds like we have consensus. So with that, all in favor of approving the minutes of February 13th, 2024, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Looks like it's 4-0. Okay. Now moving into the meat of our agenda tonight. First is consideration of MS 24-01. And that is a request by John Miller for approval of a major subdivision. The Tatanka subdivision consists of 20 lots on a parcel of approximately 320 acres in the urban agriculture zoning district. The parcel is located at lots 2 and 3, that being the southwest of the northeast, the southeast of the northwest, and the east half of the southwest, the west half of the southeast. Section 4, Township 35 North, Range 79 West. Property is currently accessed from the Interstate 25 frontage road. Mr. Gustafson, do we have a staff report, please, sir?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. Yes, we do. The agent for this case is Bill Farringer, sitting in the audience here, and Mr. Miller is also here. So the zoning for this area is urban agriculture. Minimum lot size is 10 acres. The existing land use is currently vacant. Adjacent land use is urban mixed residential, UMR all around. Water source will be on-site or individual water wells, and the septic systems will be the same, on-site or individual septic systems. This is a major subdivision by definition. Division of land into 2 or more parcels of 140 acres or less and not classified as a simple. We can't make this one a simple subdivision. Next section here I've got is the criteria for approval. So if you don't mind, I'll go through each criteria that we looked at for potential approval of this subdivision. Criteria 1, is the subdivision consistent with Natrona County Development Plan and Natrona County zoning there's probably a zoning resolution. I'm going to have to hand this to you. The standard is met. The proposed Tatanka subdivision lot areas are in compliance with the 2022 zoning resolution. The zoning is urban agriculture and has 10-acre minimum, the UMR. All lots of the proposed subdivision meet this. The intent and purpose of the urban agricultural is to provide for and protect the properties of 10 acres or larger, the urbanized area, which are used for more agriculture and residential purposes. And that's straight out of the zoning resolution, a little bit paraphrased. Criteria 2, the subdivision is in conformance with the general provisions of Chapter 1 and subdivision design standards of Chapter 7. And yes, this standard is met. The proposed Tonka Run subdivision is in conformance with the general provision and the subdivision design standards of the 2013 Natrona County subdivision regulations. Criteria 3, the applicant has provided evidence that a sufficient water supply system will be acquired in terms of quantity, quality, and dependability for the type of subdivision proposed, as determined in accordance with the standards set forth in the Water Supply Systems Appendix P. That standard is met. The proposed Tatanka Run subdivision will not have a centralized water system, which is stated on the plat. Each lot will be served by an individual on site well. The DEQ has issued a non-adverse recommendation for the subdivision. It was recommended that the owners have their water tested regularly. Criteria number 4, the applicant has provided evidence that the public sewage disposal system will be established, and if other methods of sewage disposal are proposed, evidence of the system complies with the state and local laws and regulations, Appendix O. This standard is met. The proposed Tonka Run subdivision will not have a centralized sewage system, which is stated on the plat, and each lot will be served by an individual on-site sewage system. The DEQ has again issued a non-adverse recommendation for this subdivision. When I say DEQ, I'm referring to the Wyoming Department of Environmental Quality. Criteria 5, the applicant has provided evidence to show all areas of the proposed subdivision which may involve soil or topographical conditions representing hazards or requirements, special precautions have been identified by the applicant, and the proposed rules of the area are compatible with such conditions. This standard is met. The Natrona County Conservation District has no comments for this subdivision. Criteria number 6, necessary services including fire, police protection, schools, recreation, utilities, open space, and transportation system are available to serve the proposed subdivision. We feel this standard is met. The proposed Tonka Run subdivision is within Natrona County Sheriff's jurisdiction and requires no new services. Criteria number 7, the subdivision appears to be compatible with the surrounding area, not detrimental to the future development of the area, not detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the inhabitants of the area and the county. That this standard is met. The proposed Tonka Run subdivision will remain under the current zoning of urban agriculture and will be no detriment to the health, safety, general welfare, and inhabitants in this area of Natrona County. Criteria 8 and 9, ISD and finances. Documentation satisfactory to the Board of County Commissioners that the improvement and service district requirements have been met. Documentation and the subdivider has adequate financial resources to develop the complete water and or sewage systems or any facility proposed to be representative to be the responsibility of the subdivider, but not limited to the above mentioned. This standards 8 and 9 are met. The required services are the responsibilities of the lot owner. Roadways will be constructed as the lots sell. No financial guarantee is required. Planning considerations. The staff has received the following comments. Road and Bridge Department has no comments on this plat. The Natrona County Soil Conservation District reports favorable soils for construction, wells, and septic systems. The Natrona County Health Department commented through the Chapter 23 report, which was submitted as non-adverse for on-site water and septic systems. It is recommended that owners have their water tested regularly. The Fire District had no comment on this plat. Natrona County GIS reviewed and accepted the plat. Natrona County Assessor Mapping reviewed and accepted the plat. Natrona County Surveyor reviewed and accepted the plat. YDOT issued a drive entrance permit or an approach permit for an entrance from the highway service road, excuse me. Windy Prairie Lane and Sitting Bull Road. No other comments were reported. As a date of the public comment, as a date of the report, there were no comments, but there have been comments received since that date. There were 4 comments received, 2 from the same person. All comments were in opposition to the subdivision. Upon review, we didn't find anything that concerned us with that comment. So, and I believe you have the comments. And I could go through and read them, but reading publicly, that's
Okay.
As far as staff recommendations, Oh, I should also mention that the staff, of course, sent notices, the statutory notices to all the neighbors within the radius necessary. Staff recommendation, staff proposes that the, well, we propose a do pass recommendation, but your choices are to enter a motion to vote for the approval of the recommended subdivision, denial of the recommended subdivision, either way. Should planning and zoning vote to approve the requested major subdivision, staff has no additional conditions for this project. And staff also recommends that the motion incorporate by reference all the findings of facts set forth in the report. Then we have a sample motion to approve or deny. So I guess with that, I'd like to answer any questions or comments.
Any questions for staff?
Okay.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move into the public hearing. Paper up here. So, I guess first, is the applicant here tonight?
Yes.
Mr. Miller, if you'd like to come up and fill us in on information you have that perhaps was not included in the staff report.
No, they were pretty thorough.
Okay.
Huh?
Give your name and address.
Oh, John Miller, 1270 Moccasin Trail. I live exactly 1 mile from this, and we've been working on this for almost a year. And a lot of time and consideration was taken into this, like the size of the lots. Now, short of you guys changing your regulations, 20 is the max. They can't be cut, so they're all 15 to 17 acres. And you need a 10 acre minimum, so it's not like we're gonna start with 20 and then all of a sudden you're gonna have 30. No, we kept it so it will be a fenced area along the east and south. We have the highway on the fencing on the west side, and there's an old fence on the north. But so this is not part of BB Brooks. Everybody kept saying, well, this is BB Brooks. No, it's not. You know, we met with the fire department, just pretty much everybody. Like I said, this has been about a year in the making, and, you know, it's one of these, we want to get everything, all of our ducks in a row so it's done right, and, you know, people aren't coming back here to complain to you guys later. Do you have any questions?
Questions for Mr. Miller?
Yeah, just a quick question. So when you're out on that site, are those public roads or private roads? Like Desperado and Wigwam?
Private.
Those are all private.
Right. Yeah, they're taken care of by the HOA over there. The homeowners association
Yeah.
is in
what?
charge of the roads.
Would that be the BB Brooks HOA?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. But the general public is allowed access,
oh, yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Excuse me, does that include Sitting Bull Street as well?
Yeah, Sitting Bull is only a short half mile. So in our proposal, we're going to straighten it out. Right now it skews on about a 47-degree angle across my property. So we applied for an extra permit, and we're going to straighten it out, as you can see on your maps. It's going to take a little while, but the one thing the state did say, you're going to have to close that dirt road while you build the other one. We don't want 3 entrances onto the service. And technically that is not a road. It was a dirt trail, and BB Brooks, if you noticed, I brought a map and I gave it to Shelby. They just utilized a half mile of it.
So how does that work with the road being at a skew currently, and you're gonna cut it straight across? How do you make the connection with the road outside your subdivision?
It's gonna start at the, do you care if I approach?
Sure.
I'll show you. So, we're gonna start right here.
So this point is this point?
Can you show us up on
Oh, yeah. See where it says City Hall, where it connects to the red line? It's gonna go straight, that double line is gonna be the road.
Could you point it out? I'm confused. Here, you can use that.
Oh, I'm gonna run up where those lots switch direction.
So, this is the old dirt road. It's really nothing. What BB Brooks did is took this part of the dirt road and named it Sitting Bull. So really, Sitting Bull goes here and then comes down here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna straighten it out. To here, we have an access, the state already gave me a permit to come out on there, and they've already given us a permit for this. So we're gonna straighten it out, but in the meantime, White House said, I gotta close this one,
I follow you.
so that's gonna irritate people who wanna drive across my property, but.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Miller? Thank you, sir.
I got a quick question. So when you close that Sitting Bull Road, will you build that other one first or
No, we're actually gonna start at the bottom.
what's that?
We're gonna start at the bottom, Windy Prairie Lane.
Okay.
Sean?
Huh?
Clarification.
Okay.
Just to be clear, the access that you see up there now that is a two-track road is not a legal access in YDOT's opinion. It's not a permitted access. So that's why they're saying, yeah, you got to shut this off at this point. So, but the access is actually, when you get done, is it going to be a shorter access than cutting across there, so.
All right. Anything else, Ray? Okay. All right, we're going to start the public hearing now. So this is to call the public hearing for consideration of Natrona County Planning Case MS 24-01. And that is a request for John Miller for the Tatanka subdivision that we've been discussing. So, anyone in favor of the application, would you please come forward, state your name and address, and you'll be on the record for being in favor of the subdivision. Typically, the owner would come up and say hello at this time. Typically, the owner would come up, the applicant would come up and say, you're in favor.
Of course, I wanted you to approve it. Again, John Miller, 1270 Moccasin Trail. And, yeah, I think this is just going to be a benefit. It'll definitely improve the values in the area.
Okay.
But I ask you to approve it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you in favor? No. I will call you later.
I'm sorry?
I'll call you later.
Okay.
Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak in favor of the application, would you please come forward? Last chance. Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak in favor, please come forward. Seeing none. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in opposition to the Tatanka Run subdivision proposal, please come forward. Good evening.
My name is John Klingman, 1600 Sitting Bull. I just have a comment, is all it is. Sitting Bull was opened up for the part of the FAA to get up to its tower up there. There's a VOR access into the Crazy Woman VOR. That's why Sitting Bull was there. Just a connection, but it's through the FAA for that road, from the service road.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Klingman? Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak in opposition to the application, would you please come forward?
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. Is that me beeping?
I don't know.
Something beeped, sorry. My name is Greg Gerard. I'm here representing the Gerard Ranch, 4,000 Horse Ranch Creek Road. In a lot of your requirements for your planning and zoning, the word detrimental is used quite a bit. Well, as far as this gentleman, he's been pretty detrimental to our operation. I'll try and keep this as short as possible, but we lease the entire grazing on BB Brooks. We run cows out there. And as is a state statute, it's a fence-out state. Even with the BB Brooks homeowners, with their rules, when they have their covenants that they sign when they come in, they have to fence their property off. If it's not fenced off, then those cows have right to come on that property. This man right here, I've never been so mad. I can't tell you how many times I've stomped up and down one of just mad. I've never met anybody that can look you right in the eye and lie to you.
So, Mr. Gerard?
Yes, sir.
We need to keep this as
Well, and
non-personal as we
I'm
can.
trying. No, sir. This isn't
Please.
as personal, and I'm telling you right now, you're pretty lucky my dad isn't here, because he'd explain some things to you too. We have bent over backwards to help this man, and he hasn't finished anything that we know of. And I think you're going to hear from some people that are going to tell you about the projects, and I can't speak to that. But as far as dealing with him, that project won't get done, and you're going to have an Antelope Hills on your hands. This man is not, his word is no good. I'll tell you that right now, because I've given him chance after chance after chance. His dogs have been in our cows. He won't follow simple rules. As far as that shutting that tower road off, he hasn't talked to Glenn with the airport. That's a federal aviation road. You can't just shut that off. And his threats of, well, I'm going to fence that off. He hasn't fenced his own property off. I'm driving around gathering cows, and there's foundation holes out there that he dug for other people that he quit. He didn't finish the job. I sure wish this works. It'd be on the record that I've drove off in my four-wheeler. I could go on, and I apologize. I don't mean to be taking my upset and anger out on you guys, but the character of this man needs to really be questioned. I don't know as far as if there's a way. There's no way to stop someone, I don't think, as far as their subdividing. But hopefully there's something to look at the person that's going to do it. Sonny Pilcher wouldn't be allowed to build that thing. And this is the same caliber person we're dealing with. And I'm glad to take any questions you guys have. The reason I'm so upset is I've spent days because this gentleman doing projects for other people leave fences open, and now I've got calves that I've had to go find their moms for 3 days. One of them died. A simple gate. He can't close a simple gate, and he's going to build a subdivision. It's our opinion that we really caution you against going with this fella to have this project. And if you guys have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My name is Jessica Taylor. I live at 12375 Tomahawk Road, adjacent to where Mr. Miller lives. So I'm going to speak on behalf of a third-party person. I've never had any direct interaction with him. However, I've watched all the destruction that he has done. We have picture evidence of his dogs on our property. They're constantly out. Him pushing cows away from his property because he won't fence it with his side-by-side. Each year we watch the houses that he has built around us fall apart. Have pictures of 2 different houses with roofs, the steel panels coming up and flopping around. He is not capable of doing a good job. It's a matter of fact. And I can say that, like I said, I have no personal interactions with him. These are just my observations. Same thing for the FFA road. That cannot be legally closed. They need 24-hour access. We contacted them. Obviously, he was not responsible enough to do the same thing. He just went with YDOT. So he's trying to get by saying, oh, that's just a dirt trail. It is not. It's sometimes one of our only accesses to our homes. We have basically two routes to go. And in wintertime, we all know how difficult that can be. And sometimes that is our only access point to get out. So by not, let alone with the FFA stuff, by shutting down that road, he could potentially just leave us trapped, and not able to get to work, get to school, whatever. I think that's all I have to say. He's not responsible enough for this opportunity. That's what it comes down to.
Questions for Ms. Taylor? Ms. Taylor, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Questions for Ms. Taylor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Paul Marhofer, 12125 Tomahawk. I'm opposed to it a bit. He helped me do a house a few years back. Plus built a few more up the road, and I'm always picking up his trash. He dragged his own shit over his dead horse to my property and burned it in my burn pile. And I mean, the guy doesn't deserve to put this subdivision in. I'd be allowed with anybody else except for this guy. He's not going to clean up his mess. He's not going to follow through. He's not going to be a team player. I oppose this strongly. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Susan Klingman, 1600 Sitting Bull. The reason I purchased out there was because I didn't want to be in a subdivision. And now there's talk of one coming in, and I'm not that crazy about it. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to the application? All right.
Gentlemen, ladies. Steve Taylor, 12375 Tomahawk. My wife just talked a minute ago. Like she said, I personally have reached out to the airport at the tower, the bosses. They have not been contacted. They had no idea this meeting was even happening as of yesterday. So I think that really needs to be addressed. Another thing is, has there been an environmental study for animals out there? because I guarantee there's something that's not being caught. There's a critical endangered species I've seen out there. So they need to see where it's at, see how many there are. Because the black-footed ferret, and I've never seen them out here. I've seen them in Shirley Basin, but never here. We really should look at them, because if numbers have been down for the last few years with the plague that went through, it killed a lot of things, but kind of need to protect them if we can to a certain degree. Another HOA might just stress them out to where they don't be there no more. And how close is this going to be to the new wind farm? Is there any rules, regulations about that? How close we can be for HOAs? Other than that, I'm against this. We don't need any more of this out there because there's no laws or regulations protecting the people. The HOAs don't do enough. They're heavy-handed one direction only. I'll never buy in another one again. There needs to be something to protect the people. That's all I got to say, sirs, of this board. You have any questions?
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Last chance. Declare the public hearing closed for the Tatanka Run subdivision application. So gentlemen, we've heard the comments given in the public hearing. We got the background information from staff and from the owner. Chair would entertain a motion. Need to have discussion first. Yes, sir.
Allow the applicant to speak in rebuttal or?
Certainly. Forgot about that. So, Mr. Miller, if you'd like to come up and give a short rebuttal to some of the things maybe you've heard, we'd like to hear from you.
Well, first you've got Greg Gerard, okay? Yeah, him and I don't get along, but he can't talk to you in a decent tone of voice. On top of being a convicted felon, you know, he's talking about me taking people's money. I never went to jail. He went to jail. But, you know, if I don't fence my property and his cows come on it, that's my problem, not his. Everybody seems to think the dirt road is theirs. It's not. It's across my property. And the FAA also comes in up through someplace in Antelope Hills. I don't know exactly where, but it wasn't a concern. If it was a concern, Bill at CEPI would have taken care of it. But I don't know what he's talking about, you know, big holes, foundations, whatever. Yeah, I have a couple projects, and there's one on Ormsby Road. Project stopped on October 10th. It's not mine. I mean, it is mine, but when the people run out of money, what are you going to do? Keep going? No. So we presently have a lien. We're in litigation with the bank. You know. Yeah, you've got, you know, it was all right when we subdivided for some of these people so they could get their homes in. Now all of a sudden, you know, they're complaining about others. You know, me doing it again for someone else. But we subdivided 3 lots in the Tomahawk Moccasin area, and to be able to get people in at a reasonable price, and now they forget that. As soon as they're in their house, they forget everything that we tried to help them out to get them in. And, you know, yeah, I do have the funds. You know, I mean, power's $175,000. You know, they don't take payment plan. I put up $175,000. You know, first phase road, the whole 9 yards. I mean, I already paid for this property, $500,000. You know, so it's not a question, oh, do I have money? I'm not here to brag. Yes, I do. And it will get done. And the other thing with Gerard, we hired Pintail Construction to do a fence. We're waiting till it's completely approved. The only thing we've actually done on this property to date is we cut the state fence and put a temporary gate there. Other than that, it's, you know, we got quite a bit of feedback on using BB Brooks Road, so that's why we turned it over and got, you know, the access road. A few people said, oh, he'll never get it. I got it in less than a week. But, no, I still have to approve it. It'll be, you know, the roads will be built way better than, I don't know if you guys ever driven out on BB Brooks. They're just mud, you know. These will be all built like a county road. Is there anything else?
So if you shut down the Sitting Bull Road, there's still access to come off of the frontage road?
Correct.
So
So,
you shut your.
so this is now my piece of property, okay? Say I fenced the whole thing. Technically, these people are supposed to come in on Desperado. They can go up 7 Buttes, Sitting Bull, and go around. Or they can go around the other way. This is a convenient cut across that they've used. And until I bought it, nobody cared. And I still let them go across until we actually start construction.
Yeah, but if you shut that traffic off through there, there's still access from.
Right. They can just go around on the BB Brooks roads.
So, we did hear testimony from one of the opposition that said in the wintertime, I don't know what snowdrift situation is on Desperado or any of those other ways. Apparently there's 2 ways in and Sitting Bull's one. If Sitting Bull goes away, Desperado, what's the name of it, 7 Buttes?
Well, that is one of the problems out there. And what I mean by that is there is no winter plowing or anything like that. The people take it upon themselves to clear the roads. BB Brooks does not help them out. And there's times where I go straight in Desperado to the end. Yeah, straight in Desperado. And there's times where it goes up and down in this little gully and there's 3-4 feet of snow. So everybody's got the problem all over the ranch. And the problem is that, you know, the road guy is, oh, I don't get paid to do plow. I only get paid to grade. And it's not like we're taking it away permanently. And that's what seems to be their issue. You know, it's like even to be inconvenienced that they have to go around. And you can't see it off the map, but most of these people actually, so this is my property, this is my property. Most of these people live here or this way. So it's easy enough to go down, come across, come to this intersection, and go out. It just makes it a half mile longer for their drive because they head north.
So I have a question. Yeah, it should be on. What would be the possibility of keeping Sitting Bull as it is until you get the new Sitting Bull or the new east-west street Sitting Bull? What would be, is it a possibility to keep the existing, I hear it's a 2-track. I went up there, but I didn't go far enough.
What's that?
I drove up there, but I didn't drive up far enough. So what would be the possibility of keeping the existing two-track Sitting Bull in service until the new Sitting Bull is ready to go?
Well, as soon as we open the right into the service road, we can only have two. So there's gonna be a point where it's gonna be closed for 2, 3 months. So it's gonna be an inconvenience. I mean, we can keep it open for now.
So YDOT says you can have two accesses, one to the south and the other Sitting Bull, correct?
The north Sitting Bull,
Okay.
right.
Okay. I wonder if they would be satisfied with, why 2 or 3 months? Why, you could actually make you could make the connection with the service road in a matter of a week. If you built the rest of
A
the
little
road.
longer. Have you ever seen a plan for what they want for the concrete approach to come in and the cattle guard and everything else?
2 weeks,
Huh?
2 weeks.
Yeah, probably.
Is that a possibility?
Yeah,
Keep Sitting Bull as it is, open until, be a 2-week period that you'd make the connection with frontage road, and best I can tell, that would make some people happy.
What you're saying is make the Sitting Bull adjustment, get it all ready to go, and then make the change of,
Make the connection to,
yeah.
the problem is, you see the way it sits now? It cuts across 2.5 of my lots. So that means I can't sell those lots. And the way we're developing this, we're coming off the south side where it says Wigwam. Okay, those 5 lots. And then we're gonna build the road through the center and do those 10 lots. The last thing to be done would be the road and the 5 lots on Sitting Bull.
is part of your construction gonna be, grading the lots, or are the lots basically gonna be the way they are?
No, we're trying to keep the topography the way it is.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, there will be some grading for the road. But on the most part, the vegetation out here is really fragile. I mean, you guys know it. I'm from Boston, I'm not from here. But I can see, like, you scrape off the vegetation and it's gone for a long time sometimes.
From the information that I'm aware of, that I've seen when we've gotten here, that is and what we've heard tonight, that is one of the sticking points that the opposition has, is shutting that down. And again, I can only assume it has to do with having a second access in a bad winter time like we had last year, something like that. So I can see where they're coming from.
We'll leave it open until the very end.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a question, and it's just it
Mr. Miller?
concerns the future of Sitting Bull Street. So I would imagine, Mr. Miller, Mr. Chair, this, they're going to have an HOA, I'm guessing, as part of the subdivision. And would that HOA kind of help maintain Sitting Bull Street? And so I guess my question is, one, is that, are they going to have an HOA? Are they going to maintain that street? And then what are the chances of the HOA deciding at some point of cutting off access to the public? Is that a possibility? We've seen it in other subdivisions. I'm just curious if that's an issue.
No, because the new Sitting Bull will go from the service road and connect to the old one. Or the existing, as you want to call it.
Okay. So you don't foresee an issue with the HOA at some point voting or however it would be done to cut off public access to the Sitting Bull that's on the other side of the subdivision?
No,
Okay.
no, I don't see that ever happening.
Okay.
Question for staff, Sean? Are these roads dedicated to the public?
These roads are dedicated to the public for access and private maintenance.
Okay.
So the plat would have to change before they could be cut off.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. All right, so more discussion? If not, Chair would entertain a motion for consideration. I do have a question myself for, another one for staff. So we've heard that, in the staff report that I believe I heard that the airport director was, did I hear that the airport director had weighed in on the, maybe I didn't.
No, I don't believe so, sir.
But he's not FAA. I mean, he's Natrona County International Airport, so. And I don't know anything about the tower.
There is a FAA facility out there, but I don't believe because this access, as you see it, the 2-track road, is not a permitted access with YDOT. There must be another way that is through a permitted access for them. The scope of this didn't go into finding that access, and maybe Mr. Farringer can, yeah. But there's going to be, my father worked for the FAA for many, many years as electronic tech. That was one of his sites.
Oh, okay. No, about it.
I've been up there several times. And actually, I don't recall ever using that access there. We came in farther to the north. So,
Okay.
but shutting that access off temporarily, I don't believe will cut off access to the site. There will be access to the site otherwise. So.
Sound like a reasonable compromise to you for a couple of weeks to make the swap over and,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
all right. Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion.
Yes, Mr. Chair, for purpose of discussion, I would like to move that, considering all relevant factors, including but not limited to those set forth by the 2013 subdivision regulations in Natrona County, I find that the major subdivision meets the general standards required. On that basis, I move to approve MS 24-1 with the due pass recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners with all staff findings of fact incorporated of reference.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion. Mr. Schulte, would you consider it acceptable that we have an amendment specifying that Sitting Bull Street Road shall be maintained until such time as the new Sitting Bull Road is constructed and ready for use, taking into account that it's going to take a couple of weeks or so for the intersection to be constructed?
You want to put that in the form of an amendment or as you just stated?
What do we need to do here, Mr. Attorney?
Mr. Chair, I think it would be appropriate to put that in the form of an amendment.
Okay, so move, or,
So the amendment is to maintain the current access to Sitting Bull until the new Sitting Bull Road and access is opened, understanding that that would be a 2-week minimum process. It'd be shut down for 2 weeks at least.
yes.
So We could vote on that amendment.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Do we need a second for that?
I'll second your amendment.
It's good.
Okay, I guess I
I'll
moved.
second it too.
I didn't know I could move. Okay, I guess. All right.
Is there anything that we need to get from the FAA to say that that's not a main access?
I guess the way I see it, it's
It seems to me like there's plenty of other ways to get to it.
so I guess I'll ask staff, but it doesn't appear to me, we just heard that
Yeah.
generally the
okay.
access is north of this.
So it's not critical that they use that Sitting Bull the way it is now.
Yes,
Other ways around to get to it.
yes, Chairman and Commissioners, I don't believe there are other public ways to get through to that site. And I don't, since that is not a legal access, I mean, with YDOT, I don't see the need for that, so.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Hearing none. All those in favor of the amendment for keeping Sitting Bull Street open until such time as the new Sitting Bull Street is ready to go, taking into account the connection with the I-25 frontage road. All those in favor of that amendment signify by saying aye.
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 I heard 4-0. Okay, on to the main motion. We have a motion on the table for due pass consideration or due pass recommendation for the Tatanka. Did I say? The Tatanka Run subdivision. Any further discussion? All right. Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor of approval of the Tatanka Run subdivision, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye here. So we have a 4-0 recommendation to Board of County Commissioners. When might this go to the Board of County Commissioners?
Mr. Chair, this would be scheduled for the first regular meeting in June. I believe that is, apologize. That would be the June 4th meeting at 5:30.
Okay, and there is another public hearing as part of that process, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Moving on. The second item for consideration this evening is too many pieces of paper here. So the next order of business is consideration of MS 24-05, a request by Richard Bertinoli for approval of a major subdivision. The Bertinoli number 1 subdivision consists of 2 lots on a parcel of approximately 4.78 acres in the Suburban Residential 1, SR1 zoning district. The parcel is located at Swingle Ranch Tracts lots 38A and 38B. The property is currently accessed from Squaw Creek Road. Have we a staff report?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, yes, Lot 38 would be split into 2 lots. 38A and 38B is the current proposal. Minimum lot size in the area is 2 acres. The area is zoned suburban residential, SR1. Existing land use is currently used for residential purposes. Surrounding land use, north is SR1, south is SR1, east is SR1, and west is UA, urban agriculture. Water source currently on-site well, city water is at the property line. Wastewater, existing on-site septic systems are proposed. General standards for the major subdivision. The major subdivision definition, a land division in 2 or more parcels of 140 acres or less and not classified as a simple. This one cannot be classified as a simple because it is part of a previously platted area. The criteria for approval. The subdivision is consistent with the Natrona County Development Plan and Natrona County Zoning Resolution. This standard is met. The proposed Burton-only number 1 subdivision lot areas are in compliance with the 2022 zoning resolution. The zoning is suburban residential and has a 2-acre minimum lot size. All lots in the proposed subdivision are over the 2-acre minimum requirement. The intent and purpose of the subdivision, the suburban residential, is to establish and protect an area for low-density residential and accessory agricultural uses, according to the 2022 zoning resolution. The subdivision is in conformance with the general provisions, Chapter 1, this criteria 2. The subdivision is in conformance with the general provisions of Chapter 1 and subdivision design chapter standards of Chapter 7. This standard is met. The proposed Burton-only number 1 subdivision is in conformance with the general provisions and subdivision design standards of the 2013 Natrona County subdivision regulations. Criteria number 3, the applicant has provided evidence that a sufficient water supply system will be acquired in terms of quantity, quality, and dependability for the type of subdivision proposed, as determined in accordance with the standards set forth in the Water Supply Systems Appendix P. This standard is met. The proposed Burton-only number 1 subdivision is serviced by an on-site water well, and city water is located at or near the property line. New Zone 2 water. Criteria 4, the applicant has provided evidence that a public sewage disposal system will be established, and if other methods of sewage disposal are proposed, evidence on that system complies with the state and local laws and regulations. Appendix O. This standard is met. The proposed Burton-only number 1 subdivision will not have a centralized sewerage system, which is stated on the plat. Each lot will be served by an existing individual on-site sewage system permitted by DEQ. Chapter number 5, or criteria number 5, sorry. The applicant has provided evidence to show all areas of the proposed subdivision which may involve soil or topographical conditions presenting hazards or requiring special precautions have been identified by the applicant, and proposes the uses of the areas are compatible with such conditions. This standard is met. The Natrona County Conservation District has no comments. Criteria number 6, necessary services including fire, police protection, schools, recreation, utilities, open space, and transportation systems are available to serve the proposed subdivision. This standard is met. The proposed Burton-only number 1 subdivision is within the Natrona County Sheriff's jurisdiction and requires no new services as well as it has access. So, criteria number 7, the subdivision appears to be compatible with the surrounding area, not detrimental to the future development of the area, and not detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the inhabitants of the area of Natrona County. And this standard is met. The proposed Burton-only number 1 subdivision will remain under the current zoning of suburban residential, SR1, and there will be no detriment to the health, safety, and general welfare of the inhabitants of Natrona County. Criteria is 8 and 9, ISD and finances. Documentation satisfactory to the Board of County Commissioners, BOCC, that the improvement and service district requirements have been met. Documentation that the subdivider has adequate financial resources to develop and complete the water and or sewage systems, or any facility proposed or represented to be the responsibility of the subdivider, but not limited to the above mentioned. Standards 8 and 9 are met. There are no improvements to be made. The required services are already in place. No financial guarantee is required. Planning considerations. Staff we have received the following comments. Road and Bridge Department had no comment on the plat. The Natrona County Soil Conservation District had no comment on this plat. The Natrona County Health Department approved with no comment on the plat. The Fire District had no comment on the plat. Natrona County GIS received and accepted the plat after revisions. Natrona County Assessor Mapping reviewed and accepted the plat after revisions. Natrona County Surveyor reviewed and accepted the plat after revisions. As of the date of this report, staff has not received any written comments. Staff sent notices to the surrounding neighbors. Statutorial area. Staff recommendation, we recommend a do-pass, but your choices are, of course, to enter a motion to vote recommended approval or denial of the requested Burton-only number 1 subdivision. Should the Planning and Zoning Commission vote to approve the requested major subdivision, staff has no additional considerations for this project. Staff also recommends that a motion incorporated by reference of all findings and facts set forth. And then we have the 2 maps, or several maps that are in there, and the I guess we add some pictures, of course. But as you can see, we meet the requirements for the lot size. It's essentially breaking 2 lots in half. There is, oh yes, that's a good point. Thank you. I almost forgot that. There, we do have a condition on the easement for access on the driveway from through the from the roadway. As you can see it, this lot. And I think that covers it, except for any questions you may have.
Could you point out again the deal with the driveway? So there appears to be 2 driveways out there, right? One.
Yes. You've got a driveway here, a driveway here. This lot, approximately by the red line, access, this driveway will be accessed there via easement. Via easement, yeah.
To get to the house?
To get to the house, yes.
North. Oh, I see, because it's, okay. Why not just move the property line to the south?
We have Todd Burton here this evening, and maybe he can answer that question.
Okay.
I don't know exactly why.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I think I can clarify on that. I believe that the shape of that was to meet minimum lot size requirements.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes. If they hadn't done that jog up there, that would meet lot requirements, yes.
Okay.
Just due to the placement of that northern house.
Thank you. And I do note that we had a written comment received in favor as we sat down here this evening.
Oh, okay. I missed that one, so, okay, that's good.
Okay. Questions for staff? Okay, Sean?
Thank you.
At this time, would the applicant like to come forward and fill in any gaps that may have noticed?
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm actually Todd Burton. I'm Richard's son. I've been dealing with this as he's got some health things. So the only reason we're doing this, to start with, years and years ago, the back corner house there was sold, and it was sold on 1 acre of land. And at the time, I think it was just grandfathered in, just because of the way the zoning was. And my father's selling his place now, and the smaller house there had approached him about purchasing some extra land to bring his land up into that 2 acre that 2 acre minimum for the area, for his well and his septic and the rest of that. And so, Dad's like, yeah, we'll see if we can go through it. And so initially we were trying to do it as just a lot line adjustment. And that, I don't think it's allowed in this particular zoning, this SR1. So we had to go through the major subdivision, just to basically move the property line. And we had to move it over the top of the second road there and put an easement through there to meet that 2 acre requirement.
Okay.
So it brings it up to par. But that's the only thing. It's basically to bring that house in the back up to the 2 acre minimum for the subdivision. And it was just part of a sell if they can make it work.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion before we move into public hearing?
I think it's a good idea.
This time, we'd like to call public hearing for the consideration of Natrona County Planning and Zoning case MS 24-05, and that is request by Richard Bertinoli for approval of a major subdivision, the Bertinoli number 1 subdivision, as we've been discussing here. So, all in favor of any in favor of the application, would you please come forward, state your name and address, and you'll have your name on the record.
Todd Bertinoli. I live at 3520 Cottontail Lane. I think this is a pretty simple thing. We're not looking to build anything much simpler than the previous gentleman. We're just looking to make a sale and bring the area into compliance with the rest of the land for the gentleman behind there. And but I would encourage you to support that. Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak in favor? Seeing or hearing no one, anyone in the audience wishing to speak in opposition, would you please come forward? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in opposition to the application, would you please come forward? Seeing none, declare an end to the public hearing. Chair would entertain a motion for consideration of the application presented.
I move to approve, considering all the relevant factors, including but not limited to those set forth in the 2013 subdivision regulation of Natrona County. I find that the major subdivision meets the general standards required. On that basis, I move to approve MS 24-5 with a due pass recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners and all staff findings of the fact incorporated by reference.
And Mr. Chair, just for clarification, before we move forward on that, would that include the access, the condition that there be an access easement?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Part of the motion.
That was part of it, I think, right?
It was part of the recommendation, but I wanted to make sure it was clear for the motion.
For sure, yes, thank you.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
So we have a motion and a second, and any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I got a quick question. So looking at that new lot line, so the one owner's going to have 2 driveways that they're responsible for, and the other one does not really have a driveway that they have access, but they're not responsible for it. Does that make sense? Okay.
The plat does show that as an access, but that access with that easement would be the responsibility of that owner to take care of, not the owner that has it on this property. So
Is that on the plat? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it is on the plat, very faintly, but there.
Yeah, that,
In
I didn't
order
get,
to keep the distance from the boundary to the building, I think they had to make that line like that
Yeah.
and retain the 2 acres. Right. Does that make sense?
sure. Thank you, Sean.
Yep.
All right. Any further discussion? So call the question. All those in favor of application MS 25-05, that's the Bertinelli #1 subdivision, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? None? So MS 24-05 passes 4-0. All right. Next on the agenda is public comment. This is time when citizens may bring forth items of interest or concern that are not on the agenda. Please note that no formal action will be taken on these items during this time due to the open meeting law provision. Any public comment? Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I'm Greg Werger. I'm at 7,000 Coates Road in Casper. I came here tonight just to introduce myself. I have applied for a text amendment for a zoning adjustment in MR1, and I've got my steps laid out. I've worked with Mr. Holbrook and Miss Shelby, and I've done my pre-application conference. My next step is a neighborhood meeting, and I didn't know whether I needed to follow any formal call for a meeting or anything else. So I wanted to ask Mr. Holbrook that question, and then I'll continue.
I will get in contact with you likely tomorrow, and we're in the process of trying to get all that together.
Okay, thank you very much. My text amendment is very simple, and I don't know if you've seen it yet, but you'll soon see it. As I follow the steps through, I'm asking that the C be removed out of the intersection with MR1 zoning and extractive mining industries or extractive industries, which means that that small thin band on the face of the mountain that's MR1 zoning would be no longer available for extractive mining. It would be prohibitive then in MR1 zoning by taking that C out, allowing a proposal to use a conditional use permit to mine that land. And what I've seen here tonight has given me a ton of confidence that I'm doing the right thing, because if we just put a simple subdivision in and we've got to do water, fire, and all the safety in the highways, that doesn't have to be for Mr. True to put a 15-acre limited mining operation up there that in his own words is going to grow to 250 acres on the side of our beautiful mountain is just astounding to me. So that will be my proposal. I'm not in a race. If the CUP comes before my text amendment is approved, so be it. We'll fight that mine on different grounds. But after Mr. True is done and we're successful there, we don't want other people coming up and putting mining on the side of that face of that mountain, especially on the west side, that's going to blow dirt, noise, and light pollution into the city of Casper. And so I'm just here to introduce myself and tell you my request, the purpose of my request, and as I go through these further steps, I'll try to do my best to inform you on why my request should be approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is communications. Anything for us tonight, Shelby or Jared?
The only thing, Mr. Chair, obviously, we have contracted with ECS. Sean's obviously here and presented tonight, but just formally introducing them as our contracted planning service at this point for the planning department. I'm currently the acting planning supervisor, taking care of more of the administrative duties. But we are all working together to try to make it through and as efficiently as possible this time where we don't currently have a planner or a development director.
Is there a term on ECS's services?
I don't believe that we have a term set at this point.
Okay. Is it the intent to hire a planner, or we're just going with what we got for time being?
Our intent is to hire a planner. Unfortunately, they're kind of sparse across the country right now, and it's been a little difficult to find anyone at this point. But we're hopeful that we will eventually find someone, but until then, we're happy to have Sean on board.
Perfect.
Outside of that, I don't believe we have any additional communications right now.
All right. So, Chair would entertain a motion for adjournment.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting concludes at 6:58 PM.